Welcome back, everybody. I have the most special guest on with me today. Say hello to my friend Lauren Cardula. Hi, Lauren.
Hello. Hello, everyone. It's so special to be here with you, Stacia. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, you guys, you are in for such a powerful conversation today. I have known Lauren for... Have you counted recently?
You know, I don't remember not knowing you, so that's how long it's
That's how
been.
long.
I would say, if I had to guess, we've known each other for at least 25 years.
Yeah, yes.
Stacia was one of my first friends.
Oh, you guys, I remember Lauren when she was just tiny. We were both small.
We were tiny. We were tiny.
And it's been cool over the years because we have... chosen our different paths and lived in very different places. And then whenever we do reconnect, it's always so powerful. And I always walk away learning so much. And you speak so much life into me.
Aww.
And it's just been such a cool journey. I cannot wait for you guys to hear what Lauren is going to share with us today, just about your creative journey and one of the most powerful lessons that you have learned.
Yeah.
Through your experience over at least the last year, but longer.
Even longer.
Even longer than that.
Yeah.
Last couple years.
Yeah, the past 6 years have really been, I'm 31, full disclosure. So the past 6 years from my mid-20s into my early 30s has, for everyone.
Pivotal.
It's such an important transitional time. And there's so many lessons to learn in this time of really, we're actually growing up.
Yes.
Did you know we're adults now?
We're adults?
Yep. We are adults now, so.
My gosh, it happened. I don't know. Sometimes I'm not sure. I
forget.
Sure.
But yeah, we're out here.
We're grown and we're out here, people. I just want to jump right in because we have a really powerful conversation for you. And I want to start, Lauren, by asking you to tell us more about your artist journey. You are a visual artist. Mm-hmm. You've also had many different roles in the art industry.
Yep.
And I would love for you to share with us what your journey has looked like up to this point.
Sure. So at this moment in time, I am currently a full-time artist. I'm a painter and I work primarily in oil paints, and I also do some drawing and these other mediums. But I actually left my job in the art world 6 months ago. So the past 6 months have been a really pivotal time for me and, really a transitional period for me. Previous to this, I was working as an art consultant for a firm in Boston, and I did that for 6 years. And before that, I was a curatorial assistant for an international corporate art collection.
Oh, wow.
Which was a really cool experience. And before that, I was in art school. And I jumped right from art school to working immediately. So when I was in art school, I actually, when I started out in college, I didn't even know that I wanted to be an artist yet at that point. And it took me 2 or 3 years to eventually commit to the art major. I have a BFA in painting. And that was, quite the leap of faith for me at that age too. We're just trying to figure things out. We're little babies in our early 20s. And it was a big decision for me to make, especially as, a pretty practical person. I was like, am I crazy? But I just felt this pull in my heart. Like, I know this is my path.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but I feel like this is the right decision for me to make for my life.
Amazing. So you really tapped into your intuition, regardless of what anyone else in your life was saying, and you just knew that was your path, and you went full send.
That's right. Even before I even knew what intuition was.
Wow. Oh my gosh, yeah.
I didn't have those tools at that point yet, but I just listened to that, what felt like such a strong knowing at that time. And I was lucky that my parents were very supportive and, it's not, I don't think it's easy as a parent to watch your child choose I don't want to call it a difficult path, because it hasn't been for me, but I think in our culture, it's kind of a cliche that it's a difficult path.
Yeah. Being an artist.
And going into the art world.
But I find it so interesting with your journey. When you went into the art world, you went into what I would consider corporate art.
Yes.
And so that experience must have been very different from, I don't know, even from your collegiate experience. It must have been, what was that like?
So that was a really amazing experience, actually. And I wouldn't even necessarily say it was that different. I was working with really amazing creative people, really strong women as role models in this art world who are all, they're very talented, but also very humble. So it wasn't that classic idea of like the New York art scene we have. It was very much boots on the ground. We were collecting regional artists to the locations that the company has, living, breathing artists, buying from small galleries. And really the ethos of that collection felt really aligned with who I am as a maker. So I really enjoyed that experience.
That's powerful. And we'll talk about alignment later on, because there are quite a few times that comes up in your story in general, making choices aligned to your values. But I also love the aspect of it where you, as an independent artist, because you were also painting while you were in corporate art, right?
Yep, I was doing as much as I could.
Yeah. So you made it a practice to paint as much as possible while you had a very full-time job.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Not knowing what's coming next, but just knowing that like this, you have to stay, practicing your craft.
Yeah, and that impulse to create doesn't go away. And the kind of paintings I make, they tend to be narrative portraits. I also do some commission portrait work, a lot of figurative art, so always incorporating a body, a human being, a face, and a story to go with it. So as these stories came up in my life, I still felt compelled to tell them through my paintings. So I wasn't as prolific as I would have dreamed of being, but when I did find the time and the energy to give to that, I would try. And I have, at this point, such a backlog from the past 10 years of like the stories I've wanted to tell. So I had to kind of pick and choose. But now it's fun because I get to revisit a lot of those moments and go back.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I would love to talk about your point of view as an artist. One of my favorite things helping people even process through is discovering what their own unique point of view is. And I think it's important no matter what industry you're in. If you have a business or a personal brand, knowing the perspective that you bring to the industry that is unique, and being able to verbalize it, being able to share it with other people, to write it down in black and white, to have a conversation about it. And we've spent a lot of time, you and I, talking about what your unique point of view is as an artist. And I would love for you to share that with people.
Sure. Yes. Anastasia has helped me a lot to put my ideas into writing, because I'm a much better, visual artist than word artist. But so she's helped me in so many ways with that. But, what my work comes down to, and for a lot of artists, if I boil like what style means for artists, that's your own personal expression of what comes out of your hand when you make a piece of art.
Yeah.
So you can tell when something is my painting versus another artist's painting just because of whatever kind of natural muscle memory movements come out when I'm working. So like that is a huge part of every artist's personal expression. In terms of the themes found in my work, I love to explore, first and foremost, human connection.
Yeah.
The artist to sitter connection. And really a lot of vulnerability, empathy. I like to capture those moments, those special fleeting moments in life that you might overlook, but that actually hold a lot of weight and a lot of value that could pass you by if you're not paying attention. I like to bring light to those moments. And it's funny because lately a lot of my work has been exploring different light sources and contrast of cool and warm and natural light, and a lot of golden hour paintings, a lot of paintings of people in nature. And I don't know, there's something about portrait work for me that feels like it has this higher purpose to it, because I don't think there's anything more important than human connection in our lives.
Yeah.
And when I paint someone, and you can speak to this.
I can. I have been painted by my artist friend.
When there's something about being painted versus having your photo taken for Instagram or whatever, there's something so uplifting about it, and something where I think, and you can tell me if you agree, but you feel so seen. And I think especially for a lot of us creative daydreamer types, it can sometimes be hard to remember that you even have a body. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but it can be hard to not feel like you're just a pile of thoughts and emotions floating around in the world. And there's something so concrete of having a portrait painted of you.
Yes.
So how do you feel?
I resonate with that a lot. And I believe in the energy of intention. And I think that is the most powerful energy that we have. And so it's a beautiful thing when I'm just going to paint the picture for you guys. It is a cold December day. It's gray outside all day, lots of clouds. You just want to be inside. You want to be on the couch. You want to be in your PJs. Cozy. You want to be cozy, and you want to have your friend there, and you want to have deep, powerful conversations, and you want to and that's what we did on this December night, this December day. And out of nowhere, we're having this very beautiful conversation, and out of nowhere, Lauren's like, don't move. She does this. This is how she, in the moment, when that moment is revealed to you, Lauren said to me, she's like, oh, wait, don't move. And she just took a picture with me on her phone, took a few. And then fast forward, I don't even know how long, she's like, it's done. And she painted this gorgeous portrait of me, and I cried. And so, yes, there is this sense of like, I am seen in a way that I've never been seen before. And you guys, I'm going to link to all of Lauren's art so you can see exactly what we're talking about. And you can feel it when you're looking at this. You can see it. And all of your work is like that, which is, it's so much more than people think it is. I don't think people realize like the depth and the heart and the spiritual elements of art like that,
It's absolutely a creative flow that happens when I'm in the studio. I'm not thinking. We've talked about this in the past. I always try to disengage from my intellectual thought while I'm working, because if I don't, I get in my own way.
Yeah.
So that has looked like listening to audiobooks, podcasts, anything that gets me out of my brain and into someone else's brain or somewhere else. I'm looking for other ways to do that in the future that, where I don't disengage with myself so much, but it's worked really well for me, because even when I listen to music, which I love music, and even when I do that, I still tend to overthink. And oftentimes, even with music especially, I start to get caught up in that artist's emotions. So sometimes it can actually interfere with what I'm doing. So I've tried to find ways to find that kind of flow where it feels like something outside of me is coming through me. It doesn't always feel like it's from myself.
It's like you're a conduit. Mm-hmm. And you make yourself available to perceive things differently and to see what happens. To almost surrender to it.
Absolutely surrender is a huge part of the process. Definitely.
Lauren, okay, talk to us about the liminal space.
Yes.
This is a term that, tell us all about it. Tell us what it means first. And then I would love to know ways that this liminal space has shown itself in your creative journey.
Great. Buckle up.
We're in. We're ready.
Yeah, the term liminal space has really been on my heart lately, and I wanted to share, this part of my journey. Liminal space essentially means a transitional period. It's kind of like the space between things. So if you were to think of it physically, you're standing in a doorway, and you're not in the room you just left, and you're not yet in the room you're walking into. Mm-hmm. And I'm definitely in a period of liminal space right now. And I will say that the other liminal spaces that have occurred over the past 6 years have been what have shaped me and my values the most as a human being, let alone as an artist. And when you're a creative entrepreneur, as you know, and you often find yourself doing project-based work. And so many times in my own experience with this, it's kind of like when it rains, it pours. You're either extremely busy or you find yourself in this period of pause. Like, oh, I don't know what my next project is going to be. Right. I don't know when it's coming. Like, I trust that it'll come, but
and
it's
sometimes
not
even that. Sometimes it's like, I think it'll come. I don't know. I'm kind of anxious.
That's so true.
What's going on?
Yeah. And so I want to talk about that space today.
Yeah.
Because we don't talk about the space in between too much. And there's a concept in visual art called negative space. And
what's that?
It's the space in between things. So it's like the air in between objects. If you're drawing from life and you're looking at a still life, say, and you're trying to draw it, it's the space that occurs between the objects. And I've found as an artist, when I use the negative space, if I look at the negative space rather than at the objects, I'm able to convey what I'm looking at so much more accurately than when I'm actually just focusing on the concrete. So I think it's an interesting parallel that my own liminal spaces of life have done the same thing for me.
So when we're able to almost pause in the doorway, pause after the thing, but before the next thing, what can that space teach us? Like, how can we navigate that space in a way that is ultimately in our highest good? Because it's a very scary space.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want me to share kind of my experiences?
I would love that.
Okay.
Yeah, give us some examples from your journey.
All right. So I was most recently working at an art consulting firm in Boston as an art consultant. And I had this, kind of big jump to make when I started there as a project manager, and I was promoted to a sales position, art consulting position. And that's a straight commission sales job. So there, you make every cent. You work for every cent that you make there.
So you don't have any base pay when you're straight commission.
No,
you're just, okay.
And it was a big leap into the unknown. Basically learning how to run my own business within a company. And it took me a few months to get on my feet and a lot of support from, my colleagues to build my book of business and make enough money to support myself. And so anyway, I left. That was a big liminal space for me. Just that time of like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm starting from scratch here.
Right. And you had that choice.
I did have that choice.
You could choose either commission or
salary. And make less money, knowing that I have potential to make more money.
So you took a big risk.
I took a big jump there. And I'm going to circle back to that because that will be important. But I left this position back in July to pursue being a full-time artist after 9 years of working in the art world after art school. And I felt so deeply in my heart that it was the right move for me and my future. But beyond booking some portrait commissions, and I had this whole head of ideas for future paintings, I didn't really have a clear vision on how I was going to make this life happen for me. But I had that intuition light bulb moment. I know that it's time to make this leap. Yeah. And I'm still in that space of, I'm standing in the doorway and the smoke is just starting to clear from the room where, it'll all become clear soon, but it's not there yet. And so I've been processing, trusting this path and giving myself some space and some grace right now, for sure, that, my path will reveal itself as I move forward.
Yes.
I'll call this following the breadcrumbs of life.
Oh, I love this phrase. Following the breadcrumbs of life.
I know, I say it all the time.
I love it.
Sometimes we don't know how things will unfold, but if we leave space for the good things to come in, it invites opportunities beyond our wildest dreams, right? So when we focus on control, the grind, overworking. Yes. We have a lot to say about that.
We do.
But when you focus on controlling every small detail of your life, you don't leave space for those great things to come in.
Yeah, I think there's a paradox here. It's like we talk about the pause, the liminal space, and there's this initial sense of okay, when I'm in this liminal space, when I'm in this pause, I'm not doing anything. I'm not moving.
Right.
I am at full stop.
Right.
And that's not what we're talking about here.
No.
Right? It's not the hustle or nothing.
Exactly.
Tell us more about the pause and the paradox of it's not actually in action.
Yeah. So when we pause, right, that is the negative space of life. And when I say negative space, I'm talking about the visual art idea of that. So it's just as productive as the moments when you're finding yourself really busy with work. And it's such a great opportunity to rest. Rest is something I feel like in our culture, the idea of resting can bring on a lot of emotions of shame. Yeah. Or laziness. There's so many negative things wrapped around in resting. But especially for creatives and sensitives and intuitives, rest is just as important.
That's beautiful.
As working. Yeah. It's crucial to give yourself the space to breathe. And,
You talked about a phrase a couple days ago, and you confessed something to me. Do you remember what you confessed to me?
No, what did I confess?
You confessed to me, you said, Anastasia, I had to confront my addiction to productivity and reclaim my peace.
Oh, yeah.
And we were just talking about unlearning productivity and how this season has encouraged you to process through that.
It's been heavy.
You went from corporate America, which we know, corporate art consulting.
Yes.
To full-time creative entrepreneur.
Yes. And, I would really say that it was my last job where I truly learned the grind. Yeah. And I went into this cycle of overproductivity, burnout, overproductivity, burnout. And what kind of happens at the end of that is there's no recovery anymore. Yeah. Because there's no vacation. There's no taking 2 months off from work. that doesn't exist in corporate America.
Right.
So how do you recover? You kind of don't. You have to, you quit your job.
You learn how to be in a state of crisis.
At all times.
At all times.
Adrenaline
you don't
pumping.
recover. Yeah.
Like.
You adapt.
And,
whatever that means.
And you build really unhealthy habits.
Yeah.
So at my last job, when I first started, one of the things they told me when I was first hired was, we're not clock watchers here. So that should have been a red flag, but for me, for me at that time, and there are so many great things about that experience that I can get into too, but that immediate red flag of, okay, so we're working long hours. So I was putting in 60+ hour weeks.
Wow.
I would be some nights be at the office till 8 or 9 p.m.
Oh, wow.
I would be working on the weekends. It was a lot about, that job was a lot about, this is a great opportunity to work here for us. And yes, I agree. It was an amazing life experience for me. They're doing a lot of good in the art world. They're helping people create art collections. That's so cool. We're purchasing work from, local artists and living, breathing artists. It wasn't, again, just like my first job, it wasn't the high-end art world. There were a lot of great values around the art collecting. And so we would help people, businesses, hospitals, all sorts of sectors create art collections within whatever budget they had to provide. So we would find artwork for them that fit their values and budget.
This is also so cool because I know you so well, and you are this deeply empathetic, deeply spiritual, very intuitive woman. And so to hear that you use your gifts even while in the corporate art world is so cool.
Yeah, and really, I can't help it.
I know. You just let it. It's so neat.
I'm an Enneagram 4 for anyone who knows what that means. That'll probably also help you understand why I'm talking about everything that I'm talking about. If you don't know what the Enneagram is, go take the test.
Yeah,
it's the best
I will link it.
Yeah, please link.
It's free. It takes a few minutes.
Yeah, it takes. If you take the real one, it's $12, and it takes 45 minutes, and it's the best $12 you'll ever spend.
Yeah.
And the best 45 minutes, it'll move your whole life in a new direction.
You could also just read all of them and choose one.
That's true.
But if you're having a hard time choosing one, because there are 9.
Yes. 9 types.
Then definitely look into the...
I'm a type 4.
I'm a type 9, just
nice.
So y'all know what we're working with.
So type 4, I'm the individualist.
The individualist.
So I can't help but I have to show up as authentically as possible in everything I do. Or else I've always struggled with professionalism because I always just want to get deep with everybody.
Yeah.
And I want to be working in alignment with my passions and my desires. And I've had to learn that that's okay.
Yeah.
Too, right?
Yes.
So,
so the unlearning productivity.
Yes. So
confronting your addiction to productivity.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I got off track.
No, we love it. We love all of it.
So, coming off of that, I would say started to happen really in 2020, which brings us to one of the most significant liminal spaces of my life, where I had taken the leap into sales in late 2019. So I had 4 months of building my book of business, just starting to get on my feet, just starting to make it happen, and really working, doing the grind, working. And then March 15th, 2020.
Oh, we know the date well.
Many of us entered a liminal space simultaneously.
Yes, we did.
We didn't know what was going to happen.
No.
We had no idea what this virus was.
Yep.
If it was going to, be world ending, economy ending. Mm-hmm. So when the world stopped, so did art collecting, really. And I'm sure a lot of people experienced this as well. But if we weren't installing artwork, I couldn't get paid for my projects. If, no one was wanting to invest in art at the time because the economy was so uncertain that those are the things that go first. Art is the thing that goes first, unfortunately.
Wow.
So I had no income at all. It just stopped. The coffers ran out. And
you were fully commission based,
I
like
was
you said.
fully
So
commission based.
you didn't have clients, literally.
That's right.
Nothing was coming in.
And because we were salespeople and straight commission, you know, our business did receive a PPP loan like every other small business. But for whatever reason, our business leader decided to put that elsewhere, and none of it went to the salespeople.
Wow.
And we were all kind of left reeling and really uncertain, and, you know, asked a lot of questions, but ultimately there was just no help for us. And that was so unfortunate.
Yeah.
And that was the introduction to me as, I don't know, was I 28 at the time? That was my first moment of realizing, okay, so I'm having this modeled for me that we take care of ourselves first.
Yeah, wow.
And that was such a great shift for me, because before that, I had given my whole heart and soul. And I was all of my loyalty, all of my dedication, my talents, everything that I offered freely for honestly what had been not great pay compared to my peers. That's kind of what it's like in the art world. You just, you know, the salaries are not high. I was barely making ends meet until I moved into sales. And I was, you know, at first I was devastated. Like, how could this be? I poured everything. I have no personal life. I spent all my time here. I spent all my time with these people. And I just realized that, oh, okay. So moving forward, I can do that too. It was my first moment too of thinking, like, I think it might be time for me to figure out my exit plan, and to do something that, you know, to follow the path that lights me up. My gears really started turning at that point on making a plan to leave. But also, there was going to be a period of time where I still had to be there working following the steps of the plan that I came up with. And, you know, that really was just, I knew I needed to have a certain amount of money in savings to take a year off. I'm calling it my year of freedom. Taking a year off from the pressure of having to earn so that I can figure out my path forward as a full-time artist. But in the meantime, I had to get back to work once the world opened up again.
Right.
And, you know, during that time, I ended up sewing face masks and selling them on Etsy.
Yes.
And
made bank.
I completely
you guys.
ended up replacing my income during that time. But I had to be sewing and packing up orders and responding to customer requests for, like, you know, 12 to 15 hours a day on top of whatever work that I had to do. So during that time, I didn't unlearn my productivity obsession. I actually dove deeper into it because I was anxious, and I responded to that by working harder than ever.
Right.
When, as I reflect back, that would have been a really great time for me to have a pause moment, but I didn't take it.
That's a really great reminder for everyone. It's like sometimes we find ourselves in these moments of our life where, like, they may seem like, you know, scary, unknown, boring. We feel like we have all this time and we just have to fill it. We have to fill it. But both things can be true at the same time. Like, we can feel like maybe we're bored and we want to fill that space with productivity. We can also choose not to do that and sit with the I call it the rub.
That's right.
Right? And, like, it's all this duality. So the same moment can feel one way and also be a great opportunity for something else. It's all in how you define it and how you choose to look at that time and how you choose to move forward. So I think it's equal parts very cool that you pivoted and you adapted and you didn't, you know, let yourself sit in this liminal space doing absolutely nothing, right? But you made a plan, you started making a plan, you took action toward it, and you ended up replacing your income at the, expense of, like you said, being addicted to productivity. But here you are now, looking back at that season, and you are taking so much. You have so many lessons available for you, even in the midst of the grind and the hustle. That's right. And that's informed this liminal space.
That's right.
That you're in.
That's right. Because while it was great that I replaced my income, absolutely, it also, another great lesson I learned from that is that I can make money from my own creative output.
There you go.
It was such a confidence builder for me doing something like this. Like, no matter what happens, I can find a way to support myself. I don't need to be attached to any kind of, corporate job with a salary. And being straight commission also helped me learn that too. But I can always find a way to be industrious and to support myself no matter what. And now then the question was, what do I want that to be?
Right.
So it opened up so many doors for me that way in my spirit to have confidence in myself.
Yeah.
That I could do it. And that was really the key thing I took away from it. The downside of what I did was that I was more burnt out than ever.
Right.
I didn't take that time to rest. And, God bless the essential workers who also worked harder than ever
angels,
during that time.
Yes.
But a lot of my peers were able to have kind of a slower time.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit jealous of that during that time. And I didn't feel like I had a choice. When I did, I had a choice. But I couldn't let go of the grind yet. And that did not serve me whatsoever. So I also learned what my limits are. And I think part of being an artist too is learning, or a creative entrepreneur, is learning that your workflow might look different than corporate America's workflow. And that's actually a really hard thing to wrap your mind around, or it was for me.
Right.
Anyway, I even to this day struggle with the habit of the 9 to 5 days a week. And that's not always realistic when you're a creative person, because your output per hour might look a lot different. So for me, I can create a lot of work within a short period of time. That's just my workflow. It's short, very intense bursts. So if I were to do that 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, I'd be burnt out by the end of every week.
Right.
So I've had to learn that, my ideal schedule might look like 4 or 5 hours a day maximum. Right. Maybe not even 5 days a week.
This is a really good point, as I've experienced this too, because I have experience in corporate America as well. And I do agree it takes time to unlearn some of the very unhelpful, toxic rules, about in corporate America. There are a lot of things about it that has served me. There are also things about it that didn't. And it took a long time for me to also learn my rhythm as an artist and as a creative. I consider myself to be an artist. Our mediums are different, you and me. But I am also an artist, and I know what you mean by discovering. It took me time to discover the times of the day that I am most creative, most, we use the word conduit, times of the day when I have the most open flow of creativity going through me. And for me, it's always the morning, early morning, 4:35, 6, early morning. And I'm done. By 2 o'clock,
done.
Sometimes even by 12. I've worked.
Yeah.
And I've done it during the most creative time of the day for me. My thing is bursts, creative bursts in the morning. And then even throughout the month, there are multiple days throughout the month that I have to just shut it down. And I'm learning how my creative rhythm is, how it presents itself, and being as obedient to my rhythm as possible. That's what I hear you saying.
That's exactly right. And releasing the guilt and shame around doing things a little differently. And I don't know if you've ever felt that. I've really struggled with that, and I'm sure there are other people too who it's just hard when you've been conditioned to work a certain amount. And this is, I don't even know who came up with 40 hours a week. I don't know. Some dude. A long time ago. But it doesn't work for me. Right. And I need to accept that and show myself grace.
Let's also be honest. As a creative entrepreneur, you're pushing much more than 40 hours a week. If you compiled the time that you take, not only executing the art, but also doing the administrative components and the supply and thinking about the strategy before you even take action, there's just a lot involved, and we are all given the energy that we need to do what we need to do in the day. We're all given our daily bread. And so there's this desire to, like, you know, this productivity, this hustle. There's this thing in us that our ego is like, do more, do more, do more. Do more so you can be more.
That's right.
Do more so you can make more. Do more so you can fill in the blank. But the paradox with this liminal space, this pause, this unlearning to create the hustle, the magic isn't ever in the hustle.
That's right.
It never is. The magic is in taking actions aligned to your values and taking care of yourself.
Yes. So that brings me back to the end, I guess, middle end of the story of my last job, which was when I got back to work after the, you know, some of the restrictions eased and people started coming back in to buy art. I made the decision moving forward, I'm only going to, you know, take the clients that light me up. I'm going to say no to opportunities that don't feel aligned with me. If I don't vibe with the client, then I'm not working with them. I'm going to focus on pouring my energy and my talents into the right opportunities for me. And like you were saying, that paradox was because, like, you would think with hustle and grind culture, that would mean that I make less money. What ended up happening was I made more money.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And I had more wonderful projects coming in. And, you know, there were other factors at play there too. But I will say, once I relinquished that feeling of, like, pushing myself to my absolute above my limits in working and only took the things that lit me up, then did I find more success. So that's the paradox of it. Like, and working hard does work up to a certain point.
Right.
And how many stories do we know of people who, you know, worked so hard and found so much success, and we're still working hard. It's just moving towards that alignment is really what sparks that magical flow.
Yeah. And it makes us redefine the term productivity.
It does.
I feel like productivity has been hijacked by corporate America.
Right.
When really it's your ability to take aligned actions that get you closer to co-creating the life you want with the least amount of steps.
That's right. Work smarter, not harder.
Work smarter, not harder,
That's
baby.
Right. Yeah.
So you walked us through your decision to go full commission. You walked us through, after you took that massive leap, the world pretty much shut down. You walked us through the decision to sew masks during the pandemic and completely replace your income during those months. But also it burnt you out. You were doing it 12, 15 hours a week. So then when you went back to corporate America, corporate art consulting after the world opened up again, you decided your intention was to only take on clients that brought you joy and projects that excited you, and focus on you and what you wanted to do for your exit plan.
Right.
So that was another liminal space. And we also talked about the term quiet quitting.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. I mean, quiet quitting has become such a buzz term.
It has.
And in a way, I did quiet quit. But I only quiet quit, I think, dedicating myself to the company with my whole being.
Yeah.
And instead, I quiet quit our company culture.
Yes. I love that.
And because I was still working, I was still, I wasn't doing bare minimum. I was still going above and beyond for my clients because they were what was important to me. Me having enough time and space to be able to rest when I needed. Yeah. And also giving my all to my clients. And giving them the most creative art programs they could purchase and, making sure everyone was taken care of. I was still tired and working hard, but
but you had a different lens because the clock had already started. The countdown had already started.
I was prioritizing my own wellness a lot more than I had previously to that. And so, the countdown started. I was, working towards my year of freedom. And I ended up having this dream.
Can we just pause? Because I love dreams. I love when people tell me about their dreams. So the fact that dreams have been such an integral part of your spiritual life and also your, this journey specifically, your journey into full-time creative entrepreneurship gives me, I get goosebumps every time you tell me. So tell us.
Yes. And I will say I definitely believe that at certain times our dreams can have powerful messages for us. And I've had them all throughout my life. They've helped at certain times, at pivotal moments, I've always had a dream that has helped guide me through them.
Amazing.
So I had a dream one night that I was on a movie set, that I was an actor in a movie, and the set was a tall tower in the sky, almost like an open cell phone tower looking structure that was all the way up in the clouds. There were clouds surrounding it. And I was there up on a platform up at the top, and the director was giving direction over a speakerphone. I couldn't see her. I didn't know who she was. And her direction was, okay, bring in the baby. So these two people came up an elevator with a baby and handed her to me, and she was going to be with me in the scene I was about to be in. And I didn't know her, but she definitely was a little baby girl. Maybe 1 year old. And so all of a sudden I felt like the tower was starting to feel a little tippy and swaying in the wind, and I felt insecure. So I looked up into the sky and I noticed that there was a cord running through the sky. I couldn't see where it ended. I couldn't see where it began, but it looked like a metal strong cord. And I was wearing a harness, and I happened to be wearing a harness with a rope and a carabiner. First. Okay. And I clipped myself to it because I didn't know if this tower was going to hold. And a few seconds later, the tower started falling out from beneath me. And because I was wearing that harness, I knew I was going to be okay, but I'm also holding this little tiny baby. And when the tower fell out from under us, there was this moment of the dream where I felt it, a free fall through the sky. And I was waiting for the rope to catch me. And it was very scary. And all of a sudden, we dropped in. We reached the end of the rope and we jolted down. And I almost dropped the baby. She kind of fell out of my arms, and I caught her and pulled her back up into me. And then there was this long period of waiting to be rescued. So I knew that there was going to be a helicopter coming at some point to come and get us, but I didn't know when. And we waited for what felt like hours and hours. And the sky turned dark. It went from day to night. And then the helicopter came, and I handed them the baby. And then I got in myself. And that's when I woke up.
Wow, Lauren. So when did you have this dream?
It was sometime in between when I decided to quit and before I quit.
Okay.
Which was a period of about a year.
Wow. Okay, so walk us through some of the elements of that dream that you've experienced that have come to pass.
Well, certainly the waiting
Yeah.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly feel like I have reached that moment of I'm kind of dangling.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know something's coming. I know the right thing is coming my way soon, but I don't know what it is. And I have faith that it will come.
Yeah.
To me, you know, the tower being unsteady reflects, I think, some of my attitudes about how I was living my life and what I was choosing to spend my time doing and the job I was in. I definitely felt insecure in that path. I had strong intuition that it wasn't the right thing for me forever, but it was the right thing for me at that time. Like, I knew at some point it was going to come to an end. Sometimes babies in dreams can represent, they kind of represent potential and life and new projects and all of the possibilities. So for me, in some ways, that baby is, you know, the hopes and dreams that I have for my future. And, you know, falling through the sky and almost dropping it feels like a warning to me to hold on tight right now.
Ooh, that's beautiful.
You know, don't, just because it's scary to fall and just because you're jolted in a way, to like, just be careful and hold on to it. Don't let it go.
Yeah, it's precious.
Yeah, it's a precious thing. And the cord in the sky, I think, you know, for me, that represents my own faith in a higher power.
Yeah.
And it could mean a lot of different things for a lot of people. I don't like to pigeonhole anyone into my own belief, but for me, it was that invisible cord, an infinite cord running through the sky. To me, how could that represent anything other than my own faith and belief in a higher purpose, having a higher purpose and having that support.
Yes.
The support of, you know, divine source beyond ourselves, something greater than ourselves out there.
That's what, when you first told me about this dream, because I think you might have called me like that week or
probably,
you know, maybe even that day. And when you were first telling me about this dream, as soon as you mentioned the cord in the sky that had no beginning and no end, it just went on forever. And when you mentioned clipping into it, I just remember thinking, like, that is without a shadow of a doubt the divine source that is always with you, working in your favor, catching us. And I'll say I'm clipped into the same line. We all are, as creatives, as artists, as humans. Like, we can choose to clip into that.
That's right.
That divine source, and we can call it whatever we want.
Right.
It's unconditional love.
It is.
You know?
That's absolutely right. And that, and trusting in that.
Yes. To hold you.
In the liminal space.
Yes.
Right? So, and then what is the helicopter? You know, who is my savior? Is it myself? My higher self?
Who's coming to save you?
Like, and if you know, I'm going to bring up the Enneagram again.
Yes,
but
we love it.
Enneagram 4s have this, like, I don't know why they all have this in common, but you're always looking for a savior. And I think sometimes we have to remember that our best savior can be our higher self.
Yeah.
It can be ourselves. I don't know what's coming, and that's part of the finding peace in this time of, I don't know what the helicopter is right now.
Yeah.
I don't have to know.
No.
What that helicopter is right now. All I can do is take the small steps that I can take right now.
There are a few things that I've heard you say in your journey that I do want to mention. And I've just also noticed it in a pattern in your life. One of them is that opportunity isn't this limited resource. It is abundant and expansive. And you have this unique ability to take the opportunities that you know are the most aligned to you. They always come for you, Lauren.
Yeah.
Like, you, as soon as you decided that you started this countdown clock and you get these emails people wanting to feature your art in international magazines. Like, you get these, you know, texts from studios that want to feature your work. You get, and it just, so you not treating opportunity like it's limited is actually what opens you up to receive these incredible opportunities and to say no with confidence when it isn't a lane for you, because you know
that's right.
More will come.
Right.
I noticed that to be a pattern in your life. Also, you have this really beautiful gift of being in the liminal space, and as you're in it, it's like you're taking notes.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like that?
Oh yeah. Like it's like an out of body, like I'm witnessing myself as a third person like, go through life. Which that's when I know I need to do my grounding.
Okay, let's come back. Let's come back to it. But yeah, it's like you're not afraid of it.
No.
It's just like this classroom. You've turned it into this master class that you're just friggin' taking notes, and you can share it in real time. Yeah. You paint it in real time. Yeah. It's like you transmute these experiences into physical, tangible reminders for you and for everyone. Yeah. You know, like the beauty that can be found in this liminal space.
Yes. It's been a really special time, and it's not always, you know, easy. Yeah. And I have my days where it can be really, you know, dark. Yeah. And, you know, people tend to only see my output and the products I put out there. They don't see everything else, all the in between of, you know, the moments where I do struggle. And I do. But at the end of the day, I try to, you know, clip into that cord.
Ooh, amen.
You know?
Yes. Can you give us 3 steps to take when we are in the liminal space?
Absolutely.
This is what I want to leave you all with. These are fire. And I know that if you walk away with nothing else, walk away with these actionable 3 steps whenever you are in a season of uncertainty and you're navigating it.
Yes. So I would say the first step is to give yourself the grace to rest, which we have talked about a bit. Mm-hmm. If you have a hard time understanding what that looks like, because I know I do, just envision it's your best friend who needs to rest.
Ooh, this is good.
It's the person you love the most in the world. And say they're coming off a big period of work, or they're so bone tired and they have the flu, whatever it is. And you love them, so you want to help them through this time. So what do you do for them?
Yeah, right? That's good.
Do you shame them for sleeping in?
No.
Do you say, get over it, pull yourself up, and get back to work? Right? No. You make them soup. Or, you know, you bring them medicine. You encourage them, take it easy today. You have to rest in order to get better. And that's when we need to turn towards ourselves. Give ourselves that grace to take the rest. And it's also a really great time to incorporate the grounding practices. So making sure that you remember that you exist in the world, your body, we're here, we're a part of the earth. So some things you can do is go for a daily walk. That's a really big for a lot of people. I know so many people who say that has made a huge difference for them in their life.
I think they call it a nature bath.
Yeah, or a hot girl walk.
Yep, hot girl walk.
Go for a hot girl walk every day. My favorite is I do Pilates and yoga every day, and just getting down close to the earth and using my own body weight to support myself and build my muscles and stretch and strengthen. That has been a really huge thing for me. Or doing grounding meditations can really help to just picture yourself, if you're sitting, picture a cord coming out of your seat down into the center of the earth and coming back up through you.
Oh, that's good. That visualization is so good.
Envisioning that can really help a lot. Another step to take during the liminal space is to take the time to reflect on your experiences. Do it. Dig down deep into your soul. Explore every corner. Even to the dark places. Go there and infuse those places with lots of love. Come right up to your major roadblocks and break them down into digestible pieces and then step right over them.
I love that.
These Pauses are the greatest opportunity you'll ever have to do this, because life gets so busy and it's so easy to overstep this during the busy time. So when you're not busy, it's really your only time to do it, and take the opportunity to do that. And then the third, and I think one of the most important things, is be willing to show up imperfectly.
Say that one more time, because we need to hear this. I need to hear this.
Be willing to show up imperfectly. Okay. And as a self-proclaimed perfectionist from birth, my dad once said she's been perfecting perfection since she was born.
Wow.
I'm very hard on myself, and this is my biggest lesson of my life, is be willing to show up imperfectly. Take small and actionable steps when you do feel the energy to work. And you don't have to start and finish a huge project. And I always say to myself, Lauren, you do not have to make the next great American painting. You just make something. Just do something. And whatever comes out, whether it's good or bad, there's no judgment on that.
I love that. It's like a loving detachment from the outcome.
Yep. Taking the pressure off. Be willing to be vulnerable and try to enjoy the process of it. Try to relinquish taking yourself seriously. Play. Do it even when you're scared. And that's a big thing for me. I always have a lot of anxiety before I enter the studio. But I just get in there and I do it anyway. I do it even when I'm scared. And that's different than your intuition telling you something's wrong versus just having like a fear to create, and do it through the fear. So, yeah. Those are my 3 steps. I hope they help someone.
Beautiful. Can you give us, just recap the steps, the 3?
Sure. So the first was give yourself the grace to rest. The second one was take the time to reflect on your experiences. And the third one was be willing to show up imperfectly.
Lauren, thank you so much for this time together, for sharing with us your story, and all about the liminal space and how we can navigate it in a way that it will ultimately bring us closer to becoming the person we are created to be, and embracing that joy. And I love you.
I love you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful for this time together.
Thanks, Lauren.